In today's video, which is originally from IG Live, I talk with Jeanetta Gonzales, who is an accomplished surface pattern designer and a coach for other designers. And she gives us some amazing suggestions about how to stay motivated and get over mindset hurdles when we are building our surface pattern business. And I love her advice here, so check it out. And check the link in the description for the worksheet that she talks about.
Can you introduce yourself briefly? Give us a little background about your art career.
Oh, sure. My art career. Oh, okay, it's very long.
Briefly, Jeanetta. I know that it could go on forever.
Okay, how do I have to find a way to tell people this in like 2 sentences or something.
No. I mean, you can have more than 2 sentences, but yes.
Okay. It's 20 years. I'm older than I look. It's definitely been a really long time. And it's been a long journey of, lots of roundabout ways to find myself, but and what it is I want to do, and and that's part of it, right? So I went to art school, UCLA, many moons ago, and then it was at a time where the graphic design in general wasn't really what it is now. So I did a bunch of jobs that I wasn't in love with, and some that were really actually kind of cool. I worked in music videos in the art departments, and I did some really fun things at that time, and then some not so fun things. And then eventually ended up going to graphic design school. Went to graphic design school because I was like, oh, I can actually, be a designer now and use my skills. So I did that, and then I've been a designer for about 20 years. And within the graphic design arc of my career, has been a lot of iterations of that, from surface pattern designer, a textile designer, illustrator, and a traditional graphic designer working in-house for companies like Mattel and boutique graphic design firms and different things like that. So I was able to kind of parlay the graphic design, which I find a lot of artists who do art licensing are graphic designers, right? Yeah, totally. And it's just it's like a natural progression into the, your artistic side. Yes. And that brings it out, and then you can like apply all your skills, right? You can draw, paint, do it on the computer, you can lay things out. So it was just kind of like, wow, I can do all these things once I found out about surface pattern design, and that opened up the world to other things. So I've worked at agencies and firms, and then the last 10 years I've been working for myself, and I've been working basically as a surface pattern designer, as an illustrator, and still a graphic designer. I still do quite a bit of branding work, logo work, and brand strategy, as well as some like marketing collateral pieces and things that I can put my own spin on. So it's kind of cool. I'm able to kind of bring it all together now and do my own thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. You do so much. We were talking about this, but just as a quick intro for myself, in case anyone doesn't know me, I have always been a surface pattern designer. Mm-hmm. I actually majored in surface pattern design. I worked in-house for 10 years designing home textiles and apparel, and then I switched into freelancing about 8 years ago. And when I moved to freelancing, the reason that I did it was because I wanted to leave New York City and move to Raleigh, North Carolina. And there's not a lot of surface pattern opportunities down here. And so my thought was like, well, if freelancing doesn't work out, I can always become a graphic designer, even though I don't have a graphic design portfolio. So I would have definitely had to put that together. It's not as easy of a transition as you think, but at the end of the day, once you've got, in my opinion, of course, other people would have different opinions, but in my opinion, once you've done surface design, graphic design is kind of boring, right? Because once you've drawn hats with so Santa hats on them, moving letters around and really sleek logos is what is the point? So while some graphic designers think their work is so exciting, it's well, try surface pattern design, because that is a lot more fun. That's just my opinion. I'm a little bit biased though.
I completely agree with you.
So when we were chatting last month, I was marveling at all the different things you do, which you just listed a lot of them. But one of the things that I know you for most is that you coach artists. And having worked with a number of artists looking for guidance in sort of illustration, surface pattern, potentially graphic design as well, what are some of the themes that you see over and over again that designers need help with?
Yes, yes. So I do coach artists, and they come to me for, I'd say, several different things. I do help them with not just one thing, but mainly I would say most of the time it's people who really are just done or burnt out with their current position or whatever it is they're doing in their career, right? And they are so ready to make that leap or start something new. And generally they want to, be an artist again. And they're getting a call, right? And they're like, I'm feeling it. I need to do this. I need to get away from where I am now and into what I'm really innately feeling I need to be doing. And so what I do, what I've seen is that they're feeling not confident. They're not ready to make the leap. They're like overwhelmed. And so that those are, I would say, majority of the things that I hear from people. Also, they're not sure of what their next step is. They need help with that. They need accountability. They don't have a practice in place, so they need someone to even look at their current work and just tell me what it is that they absolutely, like, where am I going from here?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
My work's a mess. It's all over the place. I'm overwhelmed. So I come in to kind of help, organize that for them and say, these are your strengths. This is what we need to work on now. Get everything in place so they have a plan, a strategy, and put a practice together.
We all need that objective look at our stuff, right? Because we're so close to it and so invested in it that it's hard to figure out what.
I totally agree. So it's that, and then also they might need technical help. They're not sure how to make a pattern repeat or, how to make something improve their work. As well as, because I do so many things, I can also help them with the design portion of it and show them the technical work, but I can also help them with the art part too. Like, maybe they need to work on their color. Positions are need to be stronger. Or maybe they just don't have all the skills yet. So, I'll give them tips on how to basically improve their work. And I actually work on screen. If you have digital files, I'll show you how I would do it. And so you can kind of learn by watching me show you. It's so helpful because it's like learning a language or a program. It's like you got to do it hands-on. You can't really like read it in a book, or just watch somebody do it. You have to watch and you have to really see. So I find that that's super helpful. And it's, just giving them structure, helping them with their practice, and helping them feel confident in their abilities and that they can move forward.
So that was something that I was going to say too, because I don't, do one-on-one coaching, but I do teach courses. I also hang out in a lot of Facebook groups. And like, that's a theme that I just see over and over again is that lack of confidence. So, I mean, that is why we're here today, obviously, but it's because we've seen it. We know that this is a big problem, and I'm sure we both had that problem in the past and probably will have it again in the future. I don't know. But it is tricky. I feel like a lot of designers new designers chalk it up to lack of experience. Like they feel like, well, maybe they look at someone like you or someone like me who has been doing it for a long time and say like, well, of course they're confident because they can just, they know it. They've been in that situation. But the truth is that everyone goes through confidence highs and lows, of course. Do you have any confidence or mindset tips for designers who are working to get their careers off the ground?
Yes. So I have a lot. I'll just give you a few today.
Okay,
And actually,
we don't have all day to fix everyone's mind.
I'll give you the main ones, and I think these will be really helpful. And also, I'll just plug in right now that I'll have a worksheet too with some of these things on there. I wasn't able to get it up today, but I will be available later this afternoon on my link in bio and on my website. So it'll be
that's so exciting. That's going to be a great resource.
Yeah, it's really more like a journaling prompt worksheet, kind of something. So I'll get into that in a minute, but and that's something that I have my clients do as well. So I would say the first thing is really understand your why, right? And you hear this a lot, like you do branding and marketing and stuff. Like, what is your why? Where's your why? And I kind of avoided that for a long time. I'm like, I know what I'm doing, right? But honestly, once I dug into this, and I still do, because you have to go deeper and deeper into it. why are you making this art? What is it about it? Like, yeah, maybe you're feeling called for it, and maybe it makes you happy, but really, how does it make you feel? Why are you doing it? Because once you identify that, then it's a no-brainer. It's like, I'm going to make art because X, Y, and Z, because I want to be an artist, and this is why. I want to do this with my career. This is why. I want to feel good every day about getting out of bed and working, you know? And whatever those things are for you, those are motivators, right? And that's going to keep you going. So really dig into that question. Like, why is it that I want to do this? Why is it that I want to create this new career or this new body of work, or, you know, whatever it is that you're striving for and your goals are right now? Identify that, dig deep into that. Okay. So once you figure that out, or just continue working on that too, because that won't come.
Yeah, that'll kind of keep coming around. Yeah.
Right. But keep that in your mind while you're like, you know, once you're feeling down, oh, I can't do this, you want to give up. It's like, no, hold on. There's a reason that I started this. There's a reason I'm feeling I need to do this, right? So what is that? Like, why? And then when you keep coming back to that, because if you abandon that, then there's you're going to go right back to what you were working on before. Your dreams are going to die. You know, you don't want to go there. You don't want to entertain that.
Totally.
Right? So what you want to do is you identify your why. So once you identify your why, another thing I do with people is, and these are deep questions, right? These are things to think about.
Take a little time. I'm trying to think right now about my why, and I think I have some ideas, but I know what you mean. Definitely something. Sometimes it feels like it's easier to get the superficial stuff, right? Of like, I want my work on products because that sounds awesome, but why do you want the product? Why, So I see what you're saying.
Exactly. And then because you might lose your sight of your vision, right? And this is the next part, your vision. What is this vision for your life? I have people literally write their vision, their dreams, their big picture dreams, their, blue sky lifestyle. Like, what is it you really want? How do you see yourself working? What kind of clients are you attracting? What kind of projects are you doing? Like, what is this amazing career and life that you want for yourself? Like, how much money are you making? Like, write it all out, dream it up real big. This is the manifestation part of it. And this is also the part that you need to tap into. It's going to fuel you. It's going to juice you up. It's going to get you excited, right? So once you start writing this vision out, it's really just kind of becomes like this thing that you need to strive for. Like, this is where I want to go. So this is why I want to do it. And this is what it's going to look like. So once you now you have this like life that you're wanting to create, you're clear on where you want to go. And now once you start writing that out too, a lot of things start to fall into place. It's like, oh, now I see it. There's clarity here. I want to go in this direction first. And then, maybe this is something I need. So it really helps you kind of sort through all of your thoughts too, because I know we have so many in our heads as artists, all these ideas and inspirations.
Oh my God, shiny objects.
Right. So this will help you find clarity. So these are all basically journaling exercises. And your vision will change. Maybe like you thought you wanted to do this, but over time it'll change. But these are things to keep in mind while you're working, while you're creating, while you're building your career, because you have to know where you're going, right? You want to know what you're striving for. And then you can also make a vision board. I love them. I think they're amazing. And to me, this is also kind of my vision board. Like, these are patterns and things I live with and things I have online and work and things I've collected and stuff. And so in some ways I look at it every day and it's like, oh, this is my world. This is my brand. This is what I'm doing, to kind of keep it in the forefront. So if you make a vision board for yourself, you can even just do it through a little journal. I actually have a video on that. I can show you that. And then also you can just do it on a piece of paper. You can do it digitally. You can make it through Pinterest, whatever it is, but put visuals to this vision that you're creating for yourself. Those visuals, especially as being visual people, will be able to really interpret that deeply, right? So we're like, oh, this is how I see it. This is how I want it. So it'll really, really solidify that in your head. And I love vision boards. I think they just do so much. They help you get so clear. So now you have this why. You have this vision board. You have to be patient, and you have to really, really be patient, because at this point, it's like, I want all this now, right?
I know, yes. It's a slow build. We all know that it's a slow build in this business. And I think that those suggestions are amazing, and those are so important. I feel like I want to start journaling right now, like forget this interview. But, it is so true that you need to get clear on those things. And those are the big overall umbrella ideas that you need to think about. And then I would just add, like, from someone who's getting started, like the macro, that's like the macro, and then like the micro things that you can do are to remember to celebrate those small successes that you have. Keep your confidence.
How did you know?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay.
No, I want you to talk because I can piggyback on that. So go for it.
I was going to say you have to celebrate those small successes because, like, obviously it's going to take a while to get to that, as you said, that blue sky lifestyle. And so things that happen each day or each month, let's say, that are exciting. And even if it really is like, I sent out an email like to a potential client or something, like that's a success. It doesn't matter about hearing back, whatever happens, not hearing back. It's about like, you took a step forward. Like, that's awesome. You should celebrate that. Right. Yes,
for sure. Yeah. Got it. That's it.
I think so.
And then how you celebrate that is what I was getting to is that you actually make a win list. And this is part of the worksheet that I'm going to have for you. So the win list is you need to write they're going to just go out of your head and you're going to keep moving forward and you're going to get stuck on another issue, stuck on another problem. And that's going to pull you back. So what pulls you forward is to remind yourself of what's going on that's really going great in your life right now. What are you grateful for? What are you winning on every day? Like, oh my gosh, I got through this amazing I got through this amazing to-do list today. And I've reached out to these potential clients that I really want to talk to, or whatever it is. Those are the things I think that you need to be writing down. So there's a win list, small wins, big wins. It doesn't matter what it is. You can write it every day. You can do it once a week. I know I have like an ongoing one. That is just, I just keep
I do too, yeah.
Do you? Yeah. And it's like,
I haven't updated it lately. I need to, because I was kind of going through, but it's not, I don't do it small enough. I should do it more often. You're right. You're getting me on track. I'm going to do it.
All right. There we go. It really helps you see things in perspective. I think we lose perspective when we are in momentum and we're going forward with our careers and checking off things, but again, stop and smell those roses, realize that things are actually moving forward. I think we don't see that. I know at the end of the month, I'll look at everything I did and I'll be like, what the heck did I do this month? Like, I was so busy, but what did I really do? And just so I can go back to that list and be like, oh my gosh, I forgot about these 3 amazing things that happened, or all the stuff that I was able to accomplish, even though it didn't really feel like there was a big win at the end. It's all building towards something, right? So it's perspective. It's complete perspective.
That is
said.
So true. I looking back, I think after having, I've said this a lot in the past, but after having worked 10 years in-house and then moving to freelance, I had the idea that it wasn't going to be that difficult. I had this unfounded confidence that I've got all this industry experience. Being a freelancer shouldn't be too bad. I can always, if I need to get like a part-time job or whatever I can, but it shouldn't be too bad.
Right.
And then I had it's hard, P.S. And it took me a long time, even with all that experience that I had, it did take me a long time. And that is something that, and even still, I'm 8 years into this, I should be farther, you always think you should be farther along. But then creating this, at the beginning of the year, I created a course, Start Your Surface Pattern Business, relaunching in September. And I had to look back at what I was doing in the early parts of my freelancing career. So in 2013, 2014, I was looking through my old emails where I was pitching to people. I was looking through all this stuff. And that was such a reminder of oh my God, I've come so far. It doesn't feel like it, but then it's oh my goodness. And also reading some of my old emails, I'm I couldn't pitch for anything. I'm writing these college essays on hello, nice to meet you, forever and ever. I'm what was I doing? I don't have time for this. Yes, I show that example in my class and I dissect it myself of okay, should have been that. That was stupid. But that's the point. All the practice and everything that is exactly what gets you to, be able to teach a class on it 5 years down the road. It's because, you do it over and over again and you realize what works and what doesn't work. So, so celebrate that win list is so important. I love that idea.
Yeah. And I love that you did that too. I think it's really great to go back and see where you started and where you're at now. And I think, because again, it's perspective, right? It's like, you think you haven't done much, you think you haven't learned anything, but you're like, I can't believe I used to write these long emails. Like, and I think that's common. That's common, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in my courses, I really encourage action, right? And because of what I was talking about, because even if you're writing long emails that aren't going to be the greatest or the most perfect, how else would I learn that that's not an effective solution? So just doing things, taking that step forward, moving and celebrating those little successes. I think that is so important. And the benefits of pitching your work before you're fully ready, to me, are so much better than waiting until you have what you think is a perfect portfolio, right? So I would say, what advice do you give to someone who has never submitted their work for consideration to a company and is feeling like, I can't send that email, I can't do that pitch, I'm too nervous, it's not ready, it's not good. Do you have any words of advice for the people who just can't get over that hump?
Oh my gosh, yes. And this is another common thing, right? Like this is a new territory for people who have never pitched themselves before. And it's very scary and it's very vulnerable. So you don't know what's going to happen. All these horrible thoughts are going through your mind. Like, I can't do this. So you are going to be stopped. You're going to be scared and you have to do it. You just have to do it, right? If you want this, and that's again, go back to your why, go back to your vision, go back to all that stuff, because you got to check yourself every time. I'm going to check myself, because if you don't realize why you're doing this and you just stop right now because this is the one thing that you're sitting on that's holding you back, you're not going to progress. You're not going to have this dream come true, right? So you have to try and take that swing at bat to find out what's on the other side, and it will get easier. It will. So what I do tell people is, just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. Like,
that's fair. That is good. I love it.
Right?
I love it. And, I would just remind also people, like, the responses you're going to get, I think people have this imagined, like in their mind, they are catastrophizing, right? They're having this thing that they're going to send this email and an art director is going to write back and say, this is horrible. I can't believe you would even approach me with this nonsense. Like, you're wasting my time. Like, get out of here. Don't ever email me again. Of course, that's not going to happen. Of course.
You're lucky if you get
the rejections that I have
yeah.
What'd you say?
You're lucky if you get a reply.
Right, exactly. I was going to say the rejections that I have gotten where I've actually gotten a response have been, they're always so polite. They're like, it's just not right for our company at this time. That's essentially what they all say in some form or another. And that's okay. And I also remind people that not being right at this time or not being right for the company does not mean that your art isn't right for any other company, and you shouldn't, sometimes the business decisions behind why people choose art and don't choose art are, trust me, because I worked in house, like, it's vast. Like, the reasons that people like reject art and go for other art are so like minuscule and not even always have anything to do with it.
Don't take it personally. Do not take it personally. It is always a business decision. Maybe they have another art that looks like yours already or something similar, or maybe the timing, it's usually timing, like, oh, this is great, but we can't use this in our program right now, come back in a few months. There's always some reason, and it's not you. It's not that you suck. It never is. But of course, that's what our minds want to believe, because it's scary, right? It's like, oh, we can't do this. I don't know. So yes, check yourself on that. It's like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want this to happen in my life. I want to be a surface pattern designer. I want to be a licensed artist or whatever it is. This is what you want, and you have to do these things to get there. And so it's scary, but think about all the artists that are doing it. They've had to do it too, right? So you're not alone in this. Remember that you're not alone. But I also do tell them, just screw perfection. Screw it. Okay. Yeah. Like, oh God, I've had to learn that the hard way. And trying to make this perfect presentation, this perfect art piece, I'm telling you, don't even, I can't tell you how many times I got ready for a trade show and I made all this art and I noodled it and noodled it. Noodling, if you don't know, is a design term for just working on something to
overworking,
death.
right?
Yeah. Where you just have to get it right and you don't stop yourself. You just keep going. So I've done that so much. And then I get to the show and the art directors are like, they don't even look at it. Or if they look at it, the colors aren't what they need, or they want something tweaked, or I submit it. Same thing. They're like, oh, we love this, but we need it this way. So you envision this perfect thing for this perfect client in this perfect scenario that actually doesn't always exist. Like when they want your artwork, we're probably going to make a change to it, whether it's a small change or a big change or whatever, but and sometimes it gets picked as is, definitely. But I'm saying you're spending a lot of time trying to read their minds. And
right, exactly.
I say, don't bother with that. Like, get it to a point where it's good enough, and it's good enough to get in front of their face and catch their eye. Then you can have a conversation about it. Like, oh, I can totally edit this to your liking. I can make the color changes you need. I think this piece would be great for you. You know what I mean? So keep it open, stay open about it, and don't just be like, this isn't good enough, because it's really they're just making design decisions on the other end, and they need to see your work first to even know that you exist, right? So if you're hiding, you're not going to know that you have all this amazing work.
I love that idea of definitely, like, done is, or wait, what's my favorite phrase? I got two favorite phrases.
Okay.
Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect, right? Yeah. So that is definitely one of my favorite phrases, and I live by that as well. So that is such a good point. And also trying to read their mind. That's like another like really good point, that things get changed all the time and you don't know what they need. And so, it's better than perfect. Just get somewhere that you're happy, but it doesn't have to be like, I'm,
a masterpiece. I have pieces in my portfolio that I love, 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 love. They're still sitting there. Nobody's asked for them.
Same, girl. I am same. I'm like, what the heck? This is my best work ever. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, all the time. So don't kill yourself on everything you're doing. It's not necessary. Get to you, and with time you'll know where your stopping point is. You're like, oh, I know that this is good enough to move forward and send it out, and I think that's also a practice thing, because you don't know in the beginning until you get feedback. So getting feedback is important too. So when you do send things out and they do write you back and they do tell you, not always, but sometimes they will say, oh, this is great, but whatever that is, that's really good information to move forward with. So so all of this is like, you just won't know until you try, and then you start to hear back, or and also just that builds your confidence, right? Because you're doing it, and then it's not so scary the next time. Yeah.
My other favorite phrase is that if you don't ask, the answer is always no, right? So
for sure,
you gotta ask. I've done this myself, like for pitching and for other situations. It's like, well, if I don't ask, of course not. So you have to try just to see. And if it's a no, then you're in the same position as if you hadn't asked at all. So you're not any better or worse off.
Yeah. And don't wait to have a lot of work either. Like you can send your work out if you have smaller collections. You do not need a vast portfolio before you start your career. Absolutely not. I think that's absolutely.
I don't recommend it either.
Yeah. I don't agree. I
think, like, I usually say around 10 pieces. I mean, it's not necessarily your first 10 pieces you've ever created or anything like that. But, because if you're working really hard, you're thinking you need 50 collections or some insane number. It's like the stuff you started with is going to get stale. It's going to, why wait? You only need a few pieces to pitch yourself and to show that you can do some quality work. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. So we've talked a little bit about what might happen if you get a rejection, and if you get feedback or a yes, obviously you move forward from what they're saying. But we both, I'm sure, know the pain, the sad, sad truth of what is probably the most common response, which is absolute crickets. When you send your artwork off and you say, I want, I'd love to collaborate with you. I've got this, this, and this. I think this would be perfect for your product. And then nothing. And you should send a follow-up, and still maybe nothing. How do you stay focused and motivated in times when you're not getting a lot of that feedback that you need?
Okay. keep your why in mind.
All right. Hey, and I'll come back to it. I love this.
Why am I doing this? Right? So you're sitting here banging your head against the wall like, nobody loves me.
Sometimes it might really be, why am I doing this? Just why. Okay.
But remember why you're here, right? Like, you're here because it's not easy, right? If it was easy, there would be a million of us doing this. So it's definitely something you have to pursue. It's something you have to put time and effort into, just like anything else, right? So really, like, why am I here? And then once you when you get that, I mean, you get to the core of that, that will always bring you back, and then on top of that, I had some really good advice actually from a friend of mine who is a pretty successful artist. And she told me when she was getting started that she had sent a lot of pitches out and a lot of inquiries out to companies. And she was starting to get, things are starting to happen and move. And she's like, I just got to the point where I was, and early on, she learned this really quickly, that I'm so busy and I'm building momentum that I don't have time to sit around and twiddle my thumbs and wait for the phone to ring, right? She's like, there's no time for that. She's like, keep going, build that momentum, don't stop, because that's when all the negative stuff starts creeping in. Once you slow down, then you're like, and your mind takes over, right? And it's the evil mind takes over and it starts saying all those things like, oh, I'm not good enough, this isn't going to work out, I'm going to quit right now. And don't go there. Don't even let that train leave the station.
No,
so this is the time when you keep moving. So she's like, I was so busy. I made myself so busy that it was like I had a bunch of pitches out that it was like, okay, I haven't heard from you all yet, but I'm talking to you right now. And I'm talking to you right now. Oh, and I'm working on this for these guys. And oh, I'm building a new collection to send out to the next people. So it's like, keep working. Don't stop. Like, you can't stop. Once you stop and just wait, like, what are you doing?
That's my background on my computer. Can't stop, won't stop. It's just, that's where we're at. So, no, totally. I agree. And I was thinking my suggestion for that would probably be change gears a little bit in that, like, work. If you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling unmotivated, it's okay to take a couple weeks off from pitching. Work on a new portfolio piece, right? Like, you can change gears, but that's the same idea of staying busy, keeping going with other things, because there's always other things. So, and
it's a long game. This licensing is not an overnight success.
We haven't made that
clear. People who do that. So few. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, and it is a constant game, right? You're not, just because you have a handful of clients and life is great, it doesn't mean this is it. You've won the licensing lottery. No, it's because those deals are going to end at some point, right? Yeah. You have to keep refreshing your art. You have to keep pitching. You have to keep going. It doesn't just stop because I got some deals. It never does.
I'm getting tired of thinking about it.
I know, but
it's a lot. It really is.
You have to keep putting work into it. You have to keep developing art to show. What's next? They're going to ask you, what do you have next? What do you have
more Christmas? Do you have more, florals? Always Christmas, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. That's what, last night I was talking to Mabel Tan, who's also a great artist, and she licenses her artwork. And she was saying, what would be your advice to your, when you were just starting out? And my advice, which I think would be a sad advice if you were hearing it now, you're like on the edge of your seat, like, oh, she's going to give me some gold. And my advice was like, you have to be patient. I was like, no, I don't want to be patient. I'm ready to be there. But it's seeing those small wins, seeing that step by step, your wins list, and looking at your why, and just knowing that you will get there. I don't, I'm never promising that, like, everyone's going to, of course I would you're not necessarily going to be the wildest success in the world, but you can get to a point where you are earning money with your artwork, and
for sure,
and earning decent money, as you build. But it is a slow build, and it's not something that's going to happen next year, right?
Right.
In one year,
you have to be honest about that. You have to be honest about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, awesome. That's the end of my questions. Do you want to see? Let me see. We have a couple of minutes. Do you want to take some questions? See if anyone has any. If anyone has any questions, type them in now. But in the meantime, we will ask Jeanetta. Tell us more about this worksheet. Well, you kind of told us a little bit, but where can people find you? Where can people eventually find this worksheet? Tell us more.
Okay, great. You can find me at Net Designs on Instagram. Also on my website, JeanettaGonzales.com. And also, I will have ready today, later today. It's almost ready. This worksheet that I've been talking about the whole time, and it's basically journaling prompts, like I discussed. Learning your why. I actually have a very separate thing about learning your why, so you can check that out. But there's also in this one, it'll just be like your wins list, gratitude, and then what's going right now, like really what is working, because that's something I think you need to check into as well. It's like, because you're going to be thinking in your brain about all the things that aren't working all the time. You're going to be like, oh, this isn't working and this isn't working. And that's what slows you down. That's what really holds you back. So this is also all the things you're going to be needing to write in the positive for, my wins, for what am I doing right? What am I thankful for? My bio, and I'll also have it in a freebie section on my website.
Awesome. So if you're watching the replay, it's probably already up.
No, it's not. It'll be up later today.
No, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching this tomorrow.
For sure.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah,
not yet.
Tomorrow.
All right. So we have a question here from Dream Weaving Journal. Hi, and thank you. Love the why advice. Awesome. How do you identify upcoming trends? For example, I'm trying to plan for a holiday collection and trying to figure out what animals will be trendy to include. Good one.
How do you do trends? Because I have my own perspective about trends.
Yeah, let's, I'll talk about it briefly. Trends are one of my favorite. If you don't know, I do a monthly trend board for surface pattern designers through my newsletter. And actually it goes out on the 15th of every month. So if my dates are right, that's only in 3 days. So sign up on silver.com/fresh and you can get access to that. So I love trends. I really dig in on them. And honestly, what I have found when I started doing it in 2016, my newsletter and these trend boards every month, I thought about having worked in-house and how we used to do these trend guides, or we would buy these trend guides for thousands of dollars where they're predicting, what's going to happen in 2022. And it's all based on these crazy things. And it's like, we can't see the future, but what we can do is see what's happening now, which a lot of times lasts for a very long time, especially in surface design, I've found, and see what's happening now, and then sort of see how can we evolve that? How can we do something a little bit different, something that's in the same genre, but just pushing it a little bit farther. Like if we think about like house plants, they're so trendy right now. They've been trendy for a year. So if you were drawing them last year, or even the year before, you're still good. Like, and they probably will continue to be trendy, but thinking about like, okay, house plants, like gardening, like let's think about all the kind of like do the web of like what is associated with that. And that is how I see trends evolving in the market. So when I feature a trend and then the next year I'm featuring something that's only a little bit different, it's like, okay, we started with celestial and now we're doing zodiac and now we're doing mysticism. And that's how trends do sort of evolve. It's just they kind of web out. So that is how I look at it. How about you?
I don't necessarily forecast. I kind of look at what's going on now because you can tell very quickly if you're researching or on Pinterest or anything, you can see what is out there. Plants are really popular, or like you said, like the astrology signs, things like that. You'll see them over and over again, so you'll know that trend is there. And you're absolutely right. Like I've worked with those trend reports myself and seen them evolve, and it's just a tweak every year. And then there'll be a shift at some point, but there's usually just a tweak into the shift. So you can kind of predict like, okay, plants are going to be around for a minute. Tropical is going to be around for a little bit. So, and then also it's also based on current events too. So, if we're, sometimes patriotism is really big because we might be in wartime or something like that. So you'll start to see a lot of camouflage. You'll start to see a lot of, American flag things if in the US, like things like that. So you'll start to pick up on where these trends are coming from. And if you are paying attention to the news and things and what's going on in the world too, you also start to see it in the marketplace. A lot of things just piggyback on that. But so yes, I pay attention to those things. I do kind of see what's going on. But for my own work, I try not to be super, super trend based. For me, I like to stay closer to my brand. And I think that's just a personal choice of mine. Because I've kind of honed in and niched in a lot more over the years on like the type of subject matter that I draw. So I may draw, like say, and I'll give an example, like say somebody really wants to do tropical, but their design style and the stuff they tend to draw isn't really tropical at all.
Yeah, you have to go along with what
you have. Yeah,
so you have to pick and choose.
You can, but you can also find a way to incorporate it into the work that you currently do, right? So maybe you draw like cutesy characters all the time, but maybe you put them in a Hawaiian shirt, or you put them in some kind of like fun tropical, like lush environment around them or something, but you kind of weave it into what you're doing. Instead of just being like, I'm going to make a whole tropical collection, even though that's not really what you do. So you can find ways to like add and dip and dab and add little bits and pieces of it into your work. Even like doing categories, like say you, like I had a client that paints a lot of nautical things and very coastal art. And she needed to do Christmas. And I was like, well, why don't you just make a lighthouse with a wreath on it? You know what I mean? Find ways to marry those themes and categories together. So you're not just, I just have to do Christmas and I have to do literal Christmas. I find like that's actually more interesting when you find ways to blend your style and your subject matter and your art with these trends and themes that you're being asked to make. Then it becomes a lot more about your art, your brand, and less about you just making art for the marketplace. If that's your goal. If you just like making art for the marketplace, because there are plenty of artists that do that, and they're just, they're like, I just want, I love making art for Christmas. I love making art for,
I mean,
more
if
like
it sells,
exactly.
Yeah.
So if that's your thing, go for it. Mm-hmm.
We have another question here, and then probably I'm going to let you go. But hey, so thanks so much for the awesomeness. Question: how much does personal style play a role when you first start out?
That's a good one.
It's a good one. Well, for me, because I came from an in-house background, I started my career doing all different styles because we were pitching to different clients and we were just doing, we were always doing different things for different retailers. So I really did a lot of different styles. I was used to doing that. So when I went freelance and started licensing and started trying to think about what is my interest, that was actually pretty tricky. Like, especially my earlier collections are pretty all over the place. And even to this day, I still do these collections sometimes that are just not, like I never even show them on Instagram because they're so not my brand, but like sometimes you just want to try something different. So for how important it is when you're starting out, if you're doing art licensing, I think it depends on if you're trying to just find work like freelance type work or if you're doing art licensing. But let's assume art licensing. I think, it's something to grow into, to try to find your own style and try to stand out. But it's not something that, like, if you don't know it the day you start and the first pitch you send out, then you're going to be like a failure or anything like that. Like, I think you can grow into it. You have to grow into it. It's something that you learn over time, which is like I've learned over time what I gravitate towards and what styles I come back to over and over again after looking at all the different styles I've tried. That's how I see that progression. Yeah. So I think it's okay to not have it fully nailed down when you get started. What do you think?
Oh, I completely 100% agree. You don't know in the beginning, unless you really know what you're doing. No one does. So I think in the beginning, you're kind of trying out a lot of things, right? You're like, oh, I don't really know if I like doing Christmas, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try making this and try making it. So it's a little, you're dabbling in a lot of things, experimenting, you're drawing and making collections out of things that you like, but you haven't quite figured out your style yet. You don't really know. And I think that's totally okay. You can get licensing deals in art or sell your art or whatever it is at that point too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, it does not have to be perfect. So I think you have to start somewhere. And I know my early work is Yeah, it's very different than
Yeah.
so, and I was trying a lot of things. Like I did trade shows back in 2013 and 14. I did Surtax, and it was all over the place because I was trying to meet the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was making all the themes, all the categories, I was doing everything. I was like, they're going to want Christmas and Halloween and this and that. So I just needed to make that. And I wasn't really focusing on my art, like of my voice, my own art voice. I was focused on the art that I could sell because that's
Right.
what they would look for. And I think that is everybody who starts out does that. I think you need to start there because you don't really know what you're going to like to make, and what speaks to you. You might hate making baby designs. So
Yeah.
once you start it, so you're like, I'm not doing that again. Like that wasn't fun. So once you try all these new things out, then you'll start to hone in on like where your visual point of view really is, what your aesthetic is, what the type of subject matter is you like to make, categories you like to draw for. So you have to start broad and then broader and then move in. So absolutely go there. It's okay. It's totally fine.
Yeah. And I guess that comes back to that patience thing, right? That old patience chestnut, like, you got to make those incremental steps and see where you're going.
There we go. That was a great chat with Jeanetta Gonzales. I hope that you are able to zero in, figure out your why. I know that can be tricky. It's not always the easiest thing, but you can follow me on Instagram at esilverdesign if you want to watch these IG Lives live. And please check the link in my description for access to that worksheet that we talk about in this video.